Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Am I the Jerk? Our first post is by Reasonable Count. Am I the jerk for telling a stranger that I am not her therapist and to stop interrupting my checkout at the store? I was at a bookstore last night after work. When I got to the register, it was empty. A moment later, an employee came back around with another customer. The other customer got in line behind me, while still chatting with the employee. I could tell the employee was a little uncomfortable as she called me forward. The other customer stood literally right behind me as the employee kept doing the brush off of, "Yeah, oh really? Wow." The other customer was talking about how she had recently been diagnosed with cancer, going into details about the treatments she'd need, etc. Finally, she was quiet when it was clear the employee was focused on my transaction and trying to ask me the whole, "Do you have a rewards card? Do you want one, etc." spiel. That's when the other customer turned to me and started giving the same story. I said I was sorry to hear about her diagnosis and went back to speaking to the employee. The customer still kept talking right in my ear, saying, "Yeah, I'm so pissed. Why'd this have to happen to me?" Finally, I told her, "You need to back up and give me some space. Stop interrupting our conversation." She started saying, "I have cancer, I need to vent." I said, "Again, sorry to hear that, but we are not your therapists, back up." She backed up and went silent. Employee looked relieved. I told my wife what happened and she told me I was rude. The woman was clearly going through something. I said as a former retail worker I despised people who unloaded their days on me, and she was clearly making the employee uncomfortable while also standing right next to me. Wife said I was still wrong. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Key Barracuda. Am I the jerk for not wanting to give my nephew a puppy after he attempted to steal one from me? I am 25F. My dog, Dove, had puppies. She's a golden lab. I promised my nephew Dion 10 he could have one of the puppies when they are ready. He was so excited. So last week when Dion and my sister came over, he asked if he could see the puppies, which I said yes. He went in to see them. Me and my sister were catching up. Then we heard Dove barking, which alerted me to go check on Dion and Dove. Dion was standing the corner with his hands behind his back. We could hear the puppy's muffled cries, and I pulled him forward and found he had put the puppy in a plastic bag. I told him off and asked him what was he doing. He started crying and said he wanted the puppy now, and that he was taking this one home. I told him no. You already know that they're too young and that they need their mother's milk. Dion had a tantrum. My sister had to take him home. Dove was understandably agitated and was now wary on who comes near her pups. I had decided over a couple of days that I didn't trust Dion to have one of them. So when my sister came to visit, I told her that I didn't want to give Dion one of the pups after what he did. She got upset with me and said it was a mistake and he learned his lesson. I said he didn't even apologize. She said, "What for? The puppy was fine." I got angry then and said, "What if Dove hadn't alerted us? The puppy could have died." She said I was going to break his heart if I go back on my promise. I said, "I'm sorry, but that's my final decision." She left angry. I've since been getting people on my back about breaking my promise and that I'm a liar. I even got a video message of Dion crying and calling me names. I'm starting to feel bad. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Quiet Gur. Am I the jerk for telling my sister I don't feel sorry for her after her daughter moved in with her grandparents? My niece Annabelle, 15, went to live with her grandparents a few weeks ago. This was a long time coming. Annabelle has been miserable at home for years and has talked to her mom countless times, and had me, my mom, and my brother talk to her mom on her behalf before. Nothing changed until Annabelle was finally done. This all started when Annabelle was 4. My sister Natasha, 47, met her husband and they moved in together with his then 5-year-old daughter Jasmine. Annabelle instantly adored Jasmine, which I know my sister hyped her up for them being sisters and stuff. But Jasmine from day one was very negative toward Annabelle. She would scream at Annabelle and call her names. It was normal kid acting out stuff that wasn't corrected from what we witnessed. Then over the years it just kept getting worse, and it stayed a very negative relationship even after Annabelle stopped trying to be sisters or even friends with Jasmine. Jasmine was with her dad way more than her mom. Her mom, like Annabelle's dad, was a bit of a deadbeat, though at least she knew her mom, where Annabelle has never met her dad. Whenever we would see them, Jasmine would have no problem playing with other kids, even other kids in our family, but she would tell Annabelle she couldn't play, or she would blame Annabelle for making her stop playing with others. My brother's kids would come and tell us what was going on, and neither Natasha or her husband would say or do anything. My mom went over a few times to say it wasn't nice to exclude kids, and Jasmine would say she hated Annabelle and wanted her to go away. This all bled into school, where Annabelle was bullied by Jasmine and some of her friends. Still nothing was done. Natasha dismissed everyone who mentioned it to her. She would even ask Annabelle if she really wanted her to be unhappy and single again, or why couldn't she accept that some sisters won't always like you. She would ignore when Annabelle told her that Jasmine never liked her. We did our best to be supportive of Annabelle, and we even tried to figure out if we could help things with her and Jasmine. It came as no surprise to me when Annabelle told us her grandparents were fighting for custody. When they won, it was surprising because I almost expected it to go in Natasha's favor, since she's her mom. But the judge decided Annabelle was old enough to have a say and took everything into account. Natasha was furious with the decision and has been crying and raging ever since. Nobody has comforted her, and we've pulled back now that we no longer need to go through her to see Annabelle. This might be why she showed up at my house the other night and wanted to talk, and when I didn't let her in, she asked me why we're not there for her. I told her that I don't feel sorry for her at all, and I said it was her fault this happened. Natasha called me a bee and stormed away from my house. She sent me a text yesterday saying I should still be there for her. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Novel Box. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my parents rename me? My 15M parents gave my sister, 16F, brother, 13M, and me nature names, and more specifically, water nature names. My sister is Ocean, I'm Cove, and my brother is River. They wanted our names to have a theme without being matchy with the same initial, so we got our names. The story was told to us when we were little, and my parents were proud of the names they gave us. Back when we were all stuck at home, my parents started to express regret about their choices for us. They actually told us over dinner one night that they wished they had given us better names and apologized for making us live with the names we were given. A few months after that apology, my mom and dad told us they wanted us to be Elizabeth, sister, James, me, and Michael, brother. They said since we were kids and weren't in college yet and nobody had their license at that point, it would be the best time to do it. All three of us said we didn't want to change our first names. My dad looked into whether they could do it when we said no, and all answers he got pointed to a very strong no. But it was also unusual to change your older kid's first name, so they went ahead and tried anyway. But once we were asked if we wanted different names, they were told no. My parents brought it up a lot to us afterward. My brother asked why they wanted to name him Michael and said the name was crappy. They told him Michael was a timeless name that would age well and gave him some nickname choices. He said he hated it. So they asked if he would consider Charles instead, which he said was an even bigger no. Our parents focused really hard on him for a while because he had asked the question about the name, so they figured he was the most open. So far, none of us have agreed to the name change. I told my parents that I know they regret the names, but we're all used to and like our names and don't want to go for more boring and common names. My parents argued that in the future we will regret it, and we'd have to pay for it ourselves when we're adults and we realize having weird names does not age well. I asked why they can't let us get there if we ever do. They said we should be thinking more of our futures, and they accused me of having a really bad attitude because I said James was as bad to me as Cove is to them now. They told me to look online, and I did, and I saw a lot of hate for our names. But I told them it still didn't change my mind. My parents said we should respect them enough as parents to allow this, and that we're all being disrespectful. Am I the jerk? Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.